Hello everyone, the Skilled Roy here, back with another Legends of Runeterra prediction list. We're about halfway through spoiler season when I realized I had not publicized my predictions in a video. For those of you who don't know, during Targon I guessed the release order of the champions, including which would be released in each expansion. I got every single one of those ones correct, and as far as Shuriman goes so far, I've also gotten these ones correct as well. Even when everyone thought it was Zillion, I knew in my heart of hearts it was in fact Talia. Now, of course, I know it was all too easy to claim that after the fact, with possibly even fabricated evidence, so I'll point you to the 3 videos I did in the description that actually accurately predicted the Targon champions months ago in their specific expansion order. Now, most of this information comes through heavy speculation, data mining, and generally just luck, but seeing as I am currently 13 out of 13 for correct expansions, I thought I'd give it another shot. Of course, spoilers ahead. So please, if you don't want to hear about the champs, turn away now. Alright, last warning, here we go. So far released are Jarvan, Lissandra, Talia, and Renekton. We know there's 5 more champions this expansion. We know this because the site that is hosting the cards, Mobalytics, was data mined, and we know what regions each of those revealed cards are going to be in. So for example, we know that Shadow Isles and Nasus are the last 2 non-Shuriman regions in expansion 1. This means we know that Kindred and Leblanc, who are both confirmed for those respective regions, are going to be in set 1. Using this logic, I can now work backwards using a number of voice lines across the 4,000 voice lines in the game and come to some new conclusions. This is the same methodology I used to predict the last champions, so I think it's pretty sound. Leblanc in particular has plenty of interactions with Jarvan, Lissandra, and Sivir. Nasus has tons of interactions between his ascended brethren such as Renekton and Azir, but he also has quite a few interactions with Kindred. For these reasons, I have decided to place them here as well. An important thing to note in the name of the expansion is very telling. Empires of the Ascended of course refers to the royalty and ruling powers of Runeterra. This is of course characters like Jarvan, Lissandra, Leblanc. This would also include the ruler of life or death incarnate itself, Kindred. The Ascended of course refer to Renekton, Nasus, and Azir, and with Talia following the region to show off some of the non-military humans, and Sivir being directly related to Azir, both literally and in the story sense, as she is technically his heir. These were all pretty easy to guess, but thanks to the Mobalytic leak, I know I'm also correct on these, so I think the logic is pretty sound moving forward. Now, I don't specifically have the order of the Shuriman, but if I had to guess, today is going to be Nasus, Kindred on the 25th, the 26th we know is a day that's not going to have a champion on it, the 27th will be Sivir, the 28th will be Leblanc, then the 1st of March will have more general Shuriman cards, and then Azir will show up on March 2nd. Also, in my Discord, I will be listing off the specific card numbers for each of these as well, so if you want to know how many cards your favorite champion's getting, I'll have them all there, but honestly, that's so much data for this video, so I'm skipping past that for now. Now, that's all for just Expansion 1. Let's look to Expansions 2 and 3 now. Again, first things first, let's see who we're working with. Irelia, Echo, Pike, Zillion, Malphite, and Rek'Sai. Now, some of you may be working with an incomplete data mine that was originally posted. If you've seen my last video that kind of exploded, I managed to explain without a doubt that Malphite and Rek'Sai were going to be coming to the game, with Malphite going to Targon and Rek'Sai going to Shuriman. Because of this, I'll be moving forward with that information. If you don't believe that, that's totally fine. It's only a matter of time, and I have no reason to lie, but I have to sort of nail down the missing champion, so this is the sort of list I'm going with here. So first we must look at the following assumption. With 6 champions left, we know they'll be split into pairs of 3, just like in Targon. Immediately, you may notice some possible pairs here. I want to immediately tell you that no matter how you split these 6 into 2 groups of 3, you'll be losing one intended design pair. Furthermore, pairs are often not what we expect them to be. For example, Tahm Kench and Soraka basically had no narrative or ability overlap whatsoever until their cards were shown. Champions like Trundle and Aesol also have nearly nothing to do with each other narratively or ability set wise, so again, please try not to hyper-focus on the apparent similarity of abilities. You'll see what I mean when I get to that later. With that said, let's look what I said in my previous video explaining Rek'Sai. The 3rd expansion is going to be called Rise of the Underworlds. As I explained in that video, Rek'Sai is obviously a perfect representative of this because she is literally under the world, aka underground, and rises out of it to attack. Also, in Shuriman lore, the underworld doesn't actually refer to death. This is actually entirely bait. The underworld, in terms of Shuriman definitions, is often referred into context with the void. In fact, the regions of Runeterra short storybooks have this quote specifically. It is the deep cold of the void which the ancients, in their ignorance, have named as their underworld, and source of all evil in the mortal realm. For this reason alone, we know that this expansion has to have a void theme, because the theme of the underworld in context of Runeterra has only ever been used to describe the void underground of Shuriman, and the underground which is ruled by Rek'Sai and her brood of Xerxes. Furthermore, only one champion had defined enough voice lines that tied them to Rek'Sai, and that was Pike. Pike could also be considered someone who lives under the world, as he often refers to the sinking city, and he's essentially employed by, or brainwashed by creatures of the deep who sent him to rise above their underwater world to kill their targets. Then finally we have Echo. This is what I was referring to earlier about people seeing a rather obvious pattern and assuming it to be true. People assumed that Shyvana was going to be with Aesol last time, and obviously that didn't pan out. So I caution you, again, not to look at the themes here, because often those pairs aren't actually paired out by their themes. I'm going with a less obvious choice here, but after hearing some of Echo's voice lines, he has a group of Zonites who are working with him, and he's quite prideful about Zon in general, especially in one of his win quotes. The overall theming of the Zonite urchins thus far has been to succeed and to work together, to rise out of their circumstances. Given that Zon is quite literally under an entire world, Echo seeks to elevate Zon as a whole. You could argue it's the most literal definition of Rise of the Underworld. Now obviously we've eliminated 3 and only have 3 remaining, and it would be extremely easy just to say, okay, the other 3 are going in expansion 2. However, I want to make sure you understand that you could also work from expansion 2 to 3 as well. All the characters in expansion 2 also suit their own names, and this is the only combination that will allow for both to make sense for both sides. Expansion 2 is called Guardians of the Ancient. First of all, let's start with Aurelia, because she might not be the most obvious guardian of the Ancient, seeing as how young she is, but let's go into it. First of all, she isn't particularly relevant to Rise of the Underworld, but let's focus especially on this title, the Guardians of the Ancient. For those of you who don't know, Aurelia is the most foremost defender of Ionia, and was the one who fought off Noxians during their first invasion. What's important to know is that she refers to Ionia as the First Lands, and that is technically their title, as it represents an ancient land of unspoiled beauty and magic. This means that when the Noxians invaded the lands and she fought them off, she was literally a guardian of the Ancient. Next up we have is Zillion, and Zillion is quite obviously the most simple of these. First of all, he is one of the few surviving Icathians. Icathia was essentially ground zero for the Void invasion. As the invasion occurred, he managed to bring some of the Icathians into his tower, which he then removed from time, guarding the remainders of Icathia from the Void assault. Even today, we have examples of his lore as Zillion's followers are actively attempting to defend the tower from the Void. Not only is Zillion literally an ancient, but he's also the guardian of an ancient culture of Icathia. There's no better descriptor for what he is doing than guarding the ancient. Then lastly, we have Malphite and Targon. For those of you who don't believe this, please rewatch the previous video where I got nearly half a dozen voice lines about Malphite, talking about the mountain and all of his followers, which are all Mount Targon related. Regardless, Malphite has been guarding a variety of locations from the Void. Originally, his purpose was to defend against the Void, a purpose he maintains to this day in current lore short stories such as Roots of a Poison Tree. He now has voice lines that take great ownership in defending Targon, which is another ancient place in Runeterra. Seeing as he is defending it so adamantly, he is quite literally, again, a guardian of the ancient. And with that, you can see that the subtitles for each of these expansions actually perfectly suit their respective champions within them. The real question, though, is what the final champion expansion is going to be. Unfortunately, right now, I can't be pug with these just yet because I haven't nailed down the exact theory I want to go with, but I will have the possibilities posted in my Discord as I gather information for them. Feel free to hit me up there. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. We'll see in just, I guess, a few days if I end up being correct or not. Feel free to DM me if I end up getting these wrong. You're watching this even like a year later. You want to make fun of me? Go for it. But I think I'm pretty confident considering I got all the previous ones right as well. But that's it for me for now. I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. See you later. Peace out.